Welcome friends of Analog Entertainment to another English board game review. This time Burgenland by Markus and Inka Brandt. Two very well-known German board game designers. Burgenland translates into Castle Land, so you can easily guess in this game we have to build castles and quite a lot of them. On the game board we have a lot of castles in different colors, and on these castles we have building spots where you can place different kind of castle buildings. The goal of the game is simple. Each player receives a bunch of different buildings, and the player who manages to place every building on the board first will win. In Burgenland there are 4 different kinds of buildings. We have walls, houses, we have palaces, and we have fountains. When it's your turn, you have actually only 2 options. You can either build something if you can, or you draw 2 cards. The cards come in 8 different colors, and they serve 2 different purposes. Firstly, they have a color, and then they have also an amount of money printed on them. If you want to build, you have to pay 4 cards of 2 different colors. On the board there are colored tiles which kind of connect the different castles. Each castle has 2 colored tiles next to it, which indicates the type of cards you have to pay to place a building into this castle. 2 cards of the color of one tile and 2 cards of the color of the other tile. For instance, you have to pay 2 green and 2 yellow, and then you can build in this specific castle. Also, you have to keep in mind that the 4 different building types have some special rules connected to them. The easiest ones are the walls. You can just build as much walls as you want as their building spaces. The second thing are the houses. And with the houses there's a restriction, because you can only build a house if there's a wall for it. So for each house in a castle there must be a wall. And because there are only 3 squared building spots in a castle, you can actually only build 1 house per castle. There is the possibility to have an extra building spot. Then it's theoretically possible to build 2 houses in a castle, but that's actually already a special rule. With the palaces it's even more complicated, because it's only possible to build 1 palace per castle. And secondly, palaces are more expensive, because in addition to the 4 cards, you have to pay the master builder. Master builders are a stack of cards, and it's a little random factor how expensive the master builder is. And if you want to build a palace, you have to pay the master builder who lies on top of this stack of cards. And you have to pay him also with your cards, because the cards, as you remember, are colors and money at the same time. The last thing you can do is build fountains, and fountains you can only build in 1 specific spot at a time, and this spot is determined by a red wooden marker, and only in this castle where this red wooden marker is present you can build a fountain. And then if you have built a fountain, the red marker kind of goes to another castle. Also, if you build a fountain, you will get a money bonus depending on how fast you are. The first one who builds a fountain will get the most money, then it will be getting lesser and lesser. If you place any building, you have to look at the board, because on the building spaces there are several bonuses printed on them. You can get extra money, you can get some switching tiles which you can use to switch these colored tiles around that determine which colors you have to pay to build in certain castles. So you can kind of change the board that it fits more with your with the cards you have in your hand. Also, there's some question marks. This is a kind of a random bonus stack where you can just draw a bonus tile, and this gives you some random effects like additional building spot in the castle. That's basically it. One special thing is, in the middle of the board there's a big castle which has no building spaces. It's possible to build as many buildings in this big castle as you want, except for fountains. You cannot build fountains there. You will certainly at some point run out from building spaces, or building spaces you can reach with your cards. And then you can always build in the big castle, and you have just to pay a different amount of cards to do so. The problem is the big castle is more expensive to build. You have to pay certain amounts of cards of a similar color or of a different colors to build there, and it's much more expensive than to build in regular small castles. So you will only choose the big castle if you just don't have another choice, or just don't have the ability to place your building elsewhere. The main problem about this game, we think, is that you have zero control about which kind of cards you draw from the stack. When the game progresses and the building spots get lesser and lesser and lesser, you really have very little options what you can actually do. And most games we played, every player still has few buildings left, and then the game's just about who draws the right cards first to build these last buildings in the big castle. So unfortunately, this game has a good start and a bad end. The only thing we can think about this game works is actually in a kind of children plus parents kind of setup, because the game is easy to learn, and for children it's still kind of challenging, because of course you have to kind of think about a lot of things, to which castle you can build, which rules you have to kind of obey for your different building types, and that can be challenging and fun for children. Also the theme about building castles kind of appeals to children, and together with parents this game might work. For grown-ups, Burgenland, unfortunately for us, only a mediocre board game.